Good afternoon. It is 3:02 on Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. This meeting of the Sandpoint Parks and Recreation Commission is now called to order. For the record, I am Chairman Chris Ankney, presiding at the City Council Chambers in City Hall, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. Commission members present or absent? Yes, present. That'd be easiest. Tammy, do you want us to go around the room, or are you familiar with everyone in here?
I think I can get it. Thank you.
Yeah.
You go ahead.
Okay. We will now proceed with approval of the minutes from the commission's last meeting. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from December 11th, 2024 meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It appears as though we approved meeting minutes. Old business. Jason, did you want to talk about any of the old business, or do we just want to leave that?
Yeah, I'd love to get, if did anybody have a chance to review the two grant applications that were posted to the agenda for today? Those are due 2 weeks from tomorrow, 2 weeks from Thursday, Friday. So, normally I would have taken the lead on that, but after we opened the sports center and the playground, she decided to take 3 weeks of well-deserved vacation. So I've written those grants myself. And I will say I've shared the WIF grant with the District 1 committee chair for the WIF grant committee, and he's very excited about it. His feedback to me, I'll just tell you what his feedback was, and I'll see if you have any feedback, was put the boat launch improvements front and center, make that the main focus of the grant. Of course, the WIF committees are always looking for projects that primarily support boating facilities. We know that obviously the entire city beach, oh man, I really wanted to share my screen so I can show you guys a slideshow I've put together for this grant. But I think we all know, you guys don't need to see pictures of the state of our parking facilities and our boat launch down there. It's really bad. The boat ramp itself has got, like, in some places, like 3-4 inch cracks where it's collapsed. The concrete is collapsed. It's not in a good state. So really highlight and emphasizing the state of the boat launch facility, the poor state of the boat launch facility, but also the rest of the parking lot we want that to be part of this project. Realistically, this isn't going to be a 1-year project. This is probably going to be a 3-year WIF project, at least 2. Have to do it in phases. Maybe this year we'll only get the boat launches resurfaced and extend the apron down a little bit further to facilitate kind of early and late season boat launching. But my goal, and it's not my goal, it's actually the city's goal, going back to 2010. I wanted to share a little bit. That's why I'll ask Tammy to also upload the 2010 Parks and Trails Master Plan. Notes for you from it. So this morning, in preparation for this meeting, I reviewed the objectives identified in 2010 that we're trying to address now 15 years later. So the approach I'm taking with WIF grant is to really emphasize the deferred maintenance on our boat launch and parking lot facilities. Hi, Ben.
Hi.
So the objectives pointed out in 2010 under Director Kim Woodruff, and Cammy was here. Cammy kind of gave me a little history on the development of 2010 master plan. Really interesting. Plant low input vegetation plantings that will increase shade cover over parking lot by 2015. Okay, haven't done that. No duh. Create a city beach stormwater plan for parking area by 2015. Haven't done that. The stormwater down there is horrendous. It's literally just sheet flow into these little pipes that dump straight into the creek. No treatment whatsoever. If you want to know what stormwater treatment looks like at a boat launch parking lot, look at Memorial Field. The stormwater retention swales in the middle of that parking lot, world class. I call them the turtle habitats because they literally look like if you were going to design a habitat for a turtle in the zoo, that's what it would be. Beautiful. And now all the stormwater all the way down Ontario and from Memorial Field in the boat launch area go into that stormwater retention area are treated and then discharged into the lake. Much better environmentally. Replace parking lot lights with energy efficient bulbs and fixtures. Hasn't been done since the 70s. I know this because Austin, our parks maintenance supervisor, told me that when he was in high school, one of the Cox boys, the family used to own the Edgewater Hotel, went up there with a saw and attempted to cut down one of those lampposts. It's made out of an old like cedar post, and the saw marks are still there today. And that happened when Austin was in high school. Austin's like, what, 63, 64?
Nearing
So
retirement.
that was in the 70s. Those lampposts have been there since the 70s, and the lights we have there are old halogen lights, totally not appropriate. Improved signage to City Beach. I have a slide in my little PDF presentation to submit with this grant, pictures of our existing signage down there. When you get to City Beach, there's a sign that's like cracked, like a third of it's just missing, and it's got old mossy covered letters. It's in bad shape. And then repave and restripe parking lot by 2015. So we're 10 years behind schedule. The parking lot has not been resurfaced since the city parks department was created in 1986. So that parking lot's still in the same state it was when the land club handed over maintenance of the park to the city in the mid-80s. So this is the argument. We want to tackle these problems now. We're going to depend on grant funds and hopefully some hotel parking and lieu fees when that project gets underway. But it's going to take a couple of years. It's going to cost more than $1 million to do all that work. We know that. Depending on the extent of stormwater treatment we do, and lighting upgrades, landscaping, shade trees, it's going to be a big project. My proposal is to kind of go back to the spirit of that 2010 Parks Plan, which didn't really call for any dramatic changes to the park itself, just to tackle all these deferred maintenance issues with the parking lot, with the boat launch, with the lighting, with the landscaping, and so on. The park itself, I didn't put them in my notes, but it's like eventually redo the perimeter pathway around the park. Put in a spiral slide, put in some swings. They're like small things that I think Sandpoint would be happy to have, but aren't going to create like a huge uproar because we're completely changing City Beach Park. You guys know the 2020 Parks Master Plan came along. It said, well, we didn't do anything from 2010, so let's create a list of new things we can't do. And the estimated cost for City Beach alone was $28 million to do the envisioned upgrades for the 2020 Parks Master Plan. It's not going to happen. I think the dream was to have a local option tax that would pay for that over 20 years. Voters rejected that local option tax in 2021. They rejected it again this year or last year for streets. Who knows if we're going to get voters to support a local option tax again before we no longer have that ability, which will be in 2030. We won't ever be able to run a local option tax again because our population will be too high. The state won't give us that right anymore. So I'm not counting on millions of dollars flowing in for City Beach, upgrades. The goal right now is to get what we can from the state over the next couple of years. And I've got a really good relationship with this Waterways Improvement Fund chair. He's super excited. He lives in Bonner County. He's the one that came to me and said we should be applying for this money. So his advice was put the boat launch front and center, do the boat stuff first. And if you can get money to do the parking lot, good for you. I view it as kind of one whole package. And then as far as docks go, the docks adjacent to the RV park there were replaced 4 years ago. I found out, actually. I didn't even realize that, but they're pretty much new. And when you go down and actually look at them, you can actually see these docks are in good shape. They're old school docks. All the lumber was replaced. They're not the modern floating concrete docks that we have over at Windbag, but because of the recent investment that the city made in those docks, I'm not putting dock replacement or expansion at the center of this year's grant application. Depending on how this goes, if this is a 3-year project, I think 2 years from now, we could look at a dock expansion down there. But right now, the obvious deficiencies are in the boat launch, which is crumbling, and the parking lot, which hasn't been repaved in over 40 years, and the lights and the landscaping and the stormwater and those things. So that's what I'm going for.
What about the dock right at the ramp? That finger, or whatever you would call it, like the main trunk of it.
Those are older. Those were not replaced 4 years ago.
Yeah, those are in pretty rough shape.
Yeah, those would probably be phase 3 after we do the boat launch and the parking.
Okay.
We would replace the older docks at City Beach.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Even the lumber on top.
Maybe even replace them entirely. If we're going to do a main
Okay.
dock
It's
replacement,
gonna be 3 years before we even touch the lumber on top of
Probably,
those. Yeah, okay,
I mean, they'll get by for 2 years.
yeah,
The Parks Master Plan also called for relocating the city shop from its current location, right by the boat launch, to the northwest corner of the parking lot, which should be kind of over closer to the hotel, to the RV area. And that's for obvious reasons, to kind of open up the view of the lake and provide more immediate access to the lake for park goers rather than having this big ugly old shop there. So that's another project that, funding if we can find funding for it. Yeah, we'd like to do that someday, but probably not as part of this project. Okay, just everything's so expensive now. You're talking another $300,000 to build a new shop, right, or 400,000. Like, the immediate need is these hardscape surfaces.
Sure. And when do you hear back on the grant?
Well, it's the application is due in 2 weeks, and then we'll hear back probably in May.
Did you mention anything about the access for the fire boat?
No, because you remember last month, we had the estimate for dredging, and it was like $7 million.
Oh, okay.
So when Lake right now, it's just too much. That's gotta be like, I don't really see that as a city of Sandpoint effort either, because it's a state, like, that's a state, that's a, state waterway. It's managed by the federal government.
Sure.
It's like, that cost just scared the crap out of me. I'm like, I can't go out around asking for grants to support a $3 million dredging operation. And there's so much, engineering and unknowns with regards to movement of sand. We just this week finished, using city equipment to move sand back onto city beach. Sand migrates every year with the lowering of the lake. So Cammie, kudos to Cammie. She got all our Department of Lands and who else? Army Corps of Engineers. We had to get all those permits. Cammie takes care of those permits every year so that Austin and his team can go down there and rebuild City Beach. It's just all that sand is moving. And if we were to dredge it, who knows, a year from now, we'd probably have to dredge it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, actually, if you're a boater, this is the time to go do your winter boating because the lake levels come up by 3 feet. So you can now launch a City Beach and get out to the lake.
Oh, wow.
Whereas a month ago you couldn't. They're doing they call it flexible winter, something FWP something. It's for power generation down at Albany Falls. So they're raising the lake for the next month.
Seems like
So we're
Sand
gonna
Creek's
drop
been a little higher
Oh, it has, yeah.
this whole winter, though, to me, but
I think it was down at Winter Pool until a few weeks ago, and then I
Really?
started raising it, yeah. So that's the WIF grant. Any feedback on that? Did you guys, if you had a chance to read it? I haven't changed it since I got that feedback from Ray, the committee chair, but I'm gonna definitely, in my final draft, really emphasize this is for boat launch facilities and the accompanying parking, but kind of put the boat launch front and center. Yeah, Ben?
Would this include any paid launch fee? Like, would you put a kiosk there for people to pay?
That's later in today's discussion, but yeah, I mean, part of the grant application, I described this being, hopefully the last time we have to ask the state for money to maintain City Beach. Like, this facility has to start supporting itself, and paid parking's gonna be part of that.
Yeah,
And boat launching as well.
I was reading through the paid parking piece. I didn't see anything in regards to boat launch.
Yeah,
Fees in here.
no, it would go along with that. I haven't mentioned it in that parking policy yet. I'm trying to separate the two because they kind of are separate. A boat launch fee should be coordinated with the county as well, because they run several boat launch sites. And this was another thing that, I don't know if I mentioned it last month, but this with grant committee chair, he asked me, why is the city charging for boat launching, and would you be willing to lead an effort to get boat launch fees across Bonner County? He's a boater himself, and he pointed out that there's no public boat launches in Kootenai County that don't charge fees anymore. And boat launch fees for the city of Coeur d'Alene are generating over $100,000 a year that can go back into those boating facilities. So, but we've got 2 boat launches in town, so if we charge a fee at City Beach, we're gonna have to figure out how to do it at Memorial Field as well. Otherwise, you're just gonna direct all that traffic to South Sandpoint, and you got boat trailers parked all over town, which we already do. And hopefully coordinate with Bonner County as well, because the next closest boat launches are all pay, like the Dover Bay, you have to pay to launch in those facilities.
I'm not sure everybody's aware, Ben, are you here representing the hotel or the resort, I should say, or I
Both
think you
ends.
should make that known.
Okay, well, I'm a resident of Dover and I access.
So not
City Beach.
Sandpoint.
And I also am representing hotel development at Valley. We have a vested interest in things that are happening at City Beach, so here to participate and learn and be educated on.
You're as a member of the public though,
Yes,
so we should probably follow like public comment procedures. So after we discuss an agenda item as a commission, the public can ask questions and stuff. So just pointing that out.
Sure.
Chris.
Yeah, thanks. I'm not sure how that works either.
And by the way, guys, if you want to talk to me about these grant applications, I'm happy to take, email me your suggestions, because I know we only have an hour, and I don't want to overstretch this time. So the other one is the RV. That one's pretty straightforward.
Does that do in 2 weeks also?
They're all both due on the 31st. Yeah, the RV park is pretty straightforward. I'm gonna call the grant administrator in Boise this week and talk about both of these with her and send her copies of my drafts and get her feedback, but feeling fairly confident about both of them. I do need to ask you guys about the match. We have to provide a match for both of these. So this is kind of a big question. The match requirement's only 5%. Obviously, like the most desirable thing for us would be just to put the minimum match forward as an offer. This comes out of our parks capital improvement fees, our parks capital improvement fund. So boat moorage, RV rental, space rental, facilities reservations, all the things that we earn revenue through the parks division. That's the pot of money we have to work with. We have about $300,000 a year in that pot. So anything we put towards a match here, if we're awarded the grant, we're obligated to giving that money towards these two projects. The trade-off, what we're giving up are other parks projects, which we haven't just, trust me, in the next 2 months, you guys are gonna be busy, because starting in February, Katie, Maeve, myself, and Sarah, our finance director, have to start doing our budget for 2026, fiscal year 2026, which we start working on in February, and it gets adopted or we bring to council in July. So for the parks division, we're gonna be saying, what are the priority projects for 2026? By me writing these grants, we're committing at least 5% of the total amount, which is 1 million for the RV park, 600,000 for the WIF. So 1.6 times 0.05, we're talking about $80,000 minimum of our 300,000 has to go towards a match for these two grants. So that's something I am looking for feedback on. Like, I've been told that the larger match we offer, the better our chances of getting the grant. So it's a bit of an unknown. It's definitely an unknown. It's a bit of a gamble. Like, we can say, let's put $300,000 towards the WIF grant, and then we'll have $900,000. We have a 50% match, or that's actually a 30%. It's a percentage of the total amount for the project. That would definitely increase our chances of getting the WIF grant, but now we have no money to resurface, basketball courts, or to replace play structures in Hickory Park, or to do signage anywhere. Like, we've blown our entire budget on just a match. So I'm not supposed to do that, definitely not. But should I be offering more than the minimum 5%, in your opinion, to increase our chances of getting this money? Because if we don't get the money, then we have no grant money and we only have $300,000.
Can you do the fees now, like this next summer?
Do what fees?
The parking and the boat launch fees? Or do you have
Well,
to wait?
Well, that's not gonna be rolled out by this summer. No, we have to get it. You guys are the first ones who are gonna hear about the proposed parking policy. And then then we're gonna bring it to planning and zoning, and then we're gonna do public engagement, we're gonna do surveys, and then we're gonna bring it to city council, and if city council supports it, then we have to go out and find a solution to implement it. We gotta get proposals, what technology are we gonna have, gates, it's gonna be a year at least. And then hopefully we also have resurfaced the city lot downtown and maybe part of City Beach by the time we roll it out. So this is probably gonna be 2026. If it gets through all those public.
In regard to the RV, one hesitation there is that the longevity that as an RV and would the benefit having an upgraded RV park, it's already generating revenue. Thinking with that grant, it's gonna generate
Oh, yeah.
revenue. But for
And
how,
I'll probably speak to that too.
for how long of a period before, isn't there also the possibility that will eventually become parking and will no longer be an RV?
That's kind of up to the Parks Commission and City Council. I mean, if that's the future,
Because
city
on
wants
one
to go.
hand, I like that it's generating all this revenue, and with the grant, maybe it could generate more. But if that's just for a short period of, 5 years or however long it is it worth it?
we would be in pretty big trouble with the state if 5 years from now we took their $1 million RV park and turned it into a parking lot. So if we're asking the state to give us $1 million to improve that, we're gonna commit to that being an RV park for like a generation.
But is that, where else is the parking gonna expand to, I guess?
City Beach parking,
Yeah.
we aren't talking about expanding City Beach parking in any of these proposals. It's resurfacing the existing parking lot. Now, between there's three zones, actually, there's four zones included. In our parking policy, I include in the city beach parking, everything beyond the RV park, which is like 230 spots, give or take. There's about 20 or 30 spots at the RV park. Before you go under the bridge, there's that parking area on the right that used to be ITD. There's about 36 spots there. So between those three lots, there's about 300 parking stalls at City Beach. So you've got Dock Street, which serves Windbag. Parking lots are Sand Creek, which is Dunnings Alley, Farmers Landing, City Lot, and Concord Bay Trail Bed.
So none of these plans are taking any parking away, or any of the plans specifically like the hotel, which I know nothing about. Is there any kind of in rebuilding their own parking structure too, that's gonna be able to, accommodate for parking there, or are they intending on using?
No, the hotel's parking structure roughly doubles the amount of parking spots currently available to hotel to 135. That's.
So it's not like people using the hotel, they're gonna park.
The hotel got a reduction in required parking spaces. Is that correct?
The hotel
Or you
used,
said in lieu of fees or something like
yeah,
that?
in lieu.
Can you
Yeah, our
explain
code
that?
allows you to reduce the kind of arbitrary number required by code by up to 50% just by paying $10,000 per spot. So they asked to pay for 40 spots in a reduction. And then our code also allows you to do an engineering study, certified Idaho licensed engineer, to do kind of a accurate estimate of the real level. They took advantage of that as well.
Cool.
The actual level demand still should have 140. They basically eliminated one level of parking through those two tools. Yeah. And that of course was to save, approximately 7.
Right. So when they have conventions and whatnot,
I mean, my understanding is convention season is, spring, fall. Parking occupancy in City Beach is like 5%. It's 290 sites. So conventions don't happen in the summer. It's just not convention season. So that's the shoulder season type of activity.
So if I'm following along those, to make sure they're able to reduce the number of spots they maybe should have had, but they're still doubling the amount that's currently there. Is that what you're saying?
That's about right, isn't it, Ben? Because you're basically building a second level of parking on top of the existing parking.
and that's for hotel guests though, not for
Yeah, that's
citizens
not
of
public parking.
Sandpoint, right?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Well, I'm just making sure they, they're
Somebody-
reducing parking in general, because then they would clearly park at the beach.
The number
Right.
of rooms is also
Right.
increased.
the number of what?
The number of isn't any rooms now versus what they're.
The original proposal was 176. Now it's down to 104 plus 28 condo units.
What was at the Edgewater?
45.
55.
So it's doubling essentially.
So yeah, if you're going to a patron of the resort, you're going to use the restaurants, stuff like that, you would. Tenants have all valet parking. They have this experience at their Whitefish Lodge. People tend to kind of park inefficiently, so they just want to handle it themselves with the parking. So you show up, they take your card, park it. To you. And just mentioned the demand analysis for things like that, seasons. And it's, it's obviously it's in their best interest to make sure that they have a good plan, because the last thing they want to do is lose business because it's able to park. So again, they're basing this off. I know that the difference seems like it's a stark change, but in aggregate, when you look at the coming and going full. There might be 100 people there, but not all 100 people are individually. That's what the demand analysis shows.
Get a little ahead of ourselves.
Yeah,
talking about
yeah.
parking.
Yeah, we should probably, any comments on you have a really good point, Josh, this question of Like,
Well, I think it's a really good question, you know, if we commit to that RV park. There is a parking demand situation that eliminates that as an option for the foreseeable future. And the only other option would be to, the way I could see it is either the green space or the shop. It's down by the docks, that could be converted to parking, although it'd be a loss, you know?
I'll point something out.
Into
The mayor's philosophy, and I've come to understand this because I've been reading and learning about it as well, is that the more parking we have downtown, honestly, the worse we are doing as a city. And here's the basic, I know it's counterintuitive, but the philosophy is this. The use of land in a high value commercial area like downtown Sandpoint for parking, whether it's surface or structured, represents a failure from city planners' side. We should be incentivizing people to take alternative transportation, to take the spot bus, to ride their bikes, to walk as much as possible, to commute via or carpool from out of town when they're coming to work. The problem is not volume, it's not the amount of parking we have downtown, it's that for the last 20 years, there has been zero price attached to that.
Right.
We had paid parking in Sandpoint for 70 years of our history on all the streets too. Look at any old black and white photo of downtown Sandpoint. There are parking meters all along First Avenue there. The city lot was paid until 2017. The previous mayor eliminated that and has since turned into the Coachella private parking lot. It's literally where Coachella parks, and the city's subsidizing that. You are all subsidizing that with your general fund tax dollars. Because this spring, the city has committed, I guess they haven't yet, but we're about to spend $400,000 tax money to resurface that parking lot there. So that Coachella people can keep parking there every day for free. Why? It makes no sense. Coachella's use of that parking lot should be generating thousands of dollars a year for the city to maintain that parking lot, or they should provide their own parking. The problem with parking downtown is not a volume problem. We know from our 22 parking study that at peak hours in the middle of the week, there are 552 unused parking stalls on the city streets downtown out of our 1,078 parking stalls. So then I attached that parking study with your reports or with your agenda today. You can read it for yourself. Occupancy rates are only around 53%. The problem is during peak summer period, when 80 to 90% of the people using City Beach parking lot do not even have Barn County license plates. They're contributing $0 to help maintain that parking lot. As soon as we attach a price to that, the number of cars will go down and we will see the quantity of spaces that we need downtown actually decrease. And the amount of, value that the people using those spaces will be reflected in the price they pay. Now, the parking proposal is very, local friendly. Anybody who goes through the effort of registering the license plate online can get a $10 parking pass to park for free downtown. So that's kind of the trade-off, right? If you're willing to go online and get a parking pass, you can park downtown for 2 hours free every day. But all these tourists who are coming and flooding our downtown parking for free right now are going to start paying for the maintenance of those facilities.
Yeah.
So
I'm with them.
Yeah.
That sounds very.
the what?
Just looking at this out of town right here.
No, he can buy a $20 parking pass. Anybody in the world can buy a $20 parking pass. The fact is, people from Calgary and Seattle are not going to go online and buy a parking pass ahead of time. They're going to start paying the moment they get here. And that's going to generate over
Well,
$300,000.
it's still gonna be way cheaper than parking in Seattle.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
ridiculous.
was there anything else around the
That's so-
RV park?
No,
Okay.
but again, if you guys want to talk to me about this stuff in the next 2 weeks, I want feedback and input. So call me, text me, email me.
What match threshold do you envision?
Okay, thank you for asking. I'm leaning towards putting a larger percentage match towards the WIF grant and going basically bare minimum for the RV park grant.
Okay,
5%, so 50,000 towards the RV
okay.
and closer to 100,000 towards the WIF. Because the WIF is the one I really hope we get. If I have to prioritize these two projects, it's the parking lot and the boat launch that I think we need to really think about.
So that'd be about 50% of the budget, right?
No, about 15% of the budget.
Yeah.
We're looking at
I thought you
about
said 100.
100,000 out of a $600,000 grant ask. So it's only.
No,
That's
I
like our
mean,
budget. Oh,
our
sorry,
budget. You're saying 100 towards
Right.
one, 50 towards
About a
another. Oh, that's
About
150.
about half of our parks have a budget towards the match of these two grants. And the risk is, we get them
Yeah,
Now we're committed to half of our budget, but we've got $1.6 million to spend,
sure.
as opposed to not getting them. We have 100% of our budget to put towards other parks projects, but our budget's only $300,000.
Sure.
Right? We're trying to leverage our limited budget of 300,000 to get closer to 2 million for parks capital improvements.
So if you do that and they do, the grants go through and half of the capital budget for parks improvements is consumed by those two projects, then what do you envision would be foregone? What would have to be given up if there's only $100,000 left in the coffers?
Well, that's kind of up
What?
to you guys,
Oh,
because the Parks Commission should be guiding staff on what other parks projects we should be doing next year. So, we've got two parks master plans. We've got the 2020 and we've got the 2010. Look at the 2020, to do any of those capital improvements, we're really like $5 million.
yeah, that stuff's pretty
If you look at the 2010, there's a lot of things, like it talks about Hickory Park, it talks
Right.
about, a small dog park at Lakeview or something, things we can do for $100,000 here, $100,000 there.
Right.
So I'm hoping that this committee will look at both those parks plans and say, what can we realistically do for between $200,000 and $300,000?
Right, okay.
I think we could do that, Jason. I don't know if we could do it before
No, I don't expect you to.
before you need to make the decision on how much to apply to that. I'm completely ignorant to the budget, and I know, you're talking about a lifeguard, project.
They're,
Oh, my
Katie's
goodness.
budget is completely
Oh,
different.
yours is
Yeah,
different.
recreation
Yeah.
is different.
Recreation
than
does
parks.
thing.
Parks
We're not
capital
jumping.
I
improvement,
see.
parks capital
No, no,
improvement is its own area of the budget.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
So
It's not
lifeguards
like you're
programming
Staffing the
totally
lifeguard and,
Totally.
yeah.
Okay. Good, all right.
In the long run, you put that money in there, in the long run, you're gonna have more revenue, wouldn't you, if you charge for parking and,
Absolutely.
yeah, so
Yeah.
in the long
Now-
run, it would be a.
Right.
Paid
Profit.
parking, this is something
Well,
we
and
have to
paid
work out
boat launch.
internally, like how much, so the revenue estimates from paid parking citywide is like $330,000 or something. How much of that would go back into the Parks Capital Improvement Fund? My argument would be any revenue earned at City Beach should go back into City Beach. So and I think the mayor would probably support that, and council would probably support that too. So we could see in the future, with an improved RV park and paid parking in City Beach, our Parks Capital Improvement budget go from, 300,000 a year to 450 or 500,000 a year, which would be amazing. Then you all get.
So it might be tight for a year or two until that revenue starts to
Yeah.
come in and then potentially it's gonna, yeah. And
So do I hear general consent of my proposal to spend half of our Parks Capital Improvement budget towards a match? Again, if we don't get the grant, we get the whole budget to use where you guys decide.
I prefer the scenario that you said, with most of it going towards the lift.
Yeah, large portion, just to increase our chances of getting it.
Minimum.
That's what I'd say. And if we don't get the RV park grant, guess what? Now we can seriously look at using that RV park for maybe something else, or it's in pretty bad shape.
The other way around, we're already generating funds from the RV park, so it's not necessary for us to upgrade. Will we make more money? Yeah. Well, can it use it? Sure.
Would we
But
get a
right
lot
now-
less complaints?
I'm sure Tammy would enjoy that, but it's still generating money, so
It can
it's
get-
not
yeah.
critical, it's not a priority.
That's a good point too.
Time, so we don't need to fix it to like make money from that already, so if we can, great, but let's put in the minimum match.
I agree.
The other one we really want, and I
Yeah.
think
Mhm.
doubling, which is what you're saying, I think that's a pretty, that's a loud noise to make, we're doubling the minimum.
And of those complainers,
But yeah,
somewhere else, like where are you
Yeah.
gonna go to get what you're getting in there?
Well,
Doesn't exist.
Slide as little as 30,000. 100,000 instead of just 30,000. I think that really increases our chances.
So 3 times.
Yeah,
Is this something we need to? put
and
on?
it's just kind of a year.
I don't think so. No, it's really not. Like these decisions are staff decisions, but I just want to get, and we call it implied consent.
Yeah, we're not doing an official vote
When
or
a commission like said that they support something in principle.
And I think what you proposed,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Jason.
All right, we should let Katie talk about her stuff.
We have started the recruitment for lifeguards, based off of what HR has determined to be our benchmarking for hourly rates. We are right there at the starting point, $14.50. That's the state average for hourly. And we may be able to move as high as 16. We're just looking at what the budget is, but I do believe it was in the conversation to increase the budget for the lifeguard, at least their hourly rate. that we can get it up to 16. So right now we have it at 1450. I've gotten 2 people applying. I put a push for the reader. I've got it out on Facebook. I'm advertising it as much as possible. I will be contacting the high school because I guess on their high school app, they have a place for jobs. So kids can jump on there and apply as well. I'm hoping, I think medium to best case scenario, I'd like to get 12 to make it possible to have it running Monday through Friday or on a limited schedule. It would be best to have up to 18 to 20 to be able to do full-time Sunday to Sunday. If we're looking at it being from the time the park opens till the time it starts to get a little bit slower, we need maximum lifeguards out there. One is not safe enough. It's better to have none than one. It's better to have none than a very stretched minimum. So we're definitely trying. The recruitment has started in December. I want it to go until the end of March. By then I'll know how many kids that we have or people, individuals, I don't know who it is. Even teenagers, high schoolers, seniors, whoever wants to apply, they're more than welcome. By then I'll be able to have a better idea of how many people we have and what I can do as far as their training and certifications are concerned, which will also be covered by the city. So yeah, we've got that going and it's generating some interest, just a little bit slow, and we'll just keep doing the pushes that we need.
Katie, is there a range with the salaries or is it straight?
We can't do ranges. That's not, yeah.
Get one option.
I would love to be able to do ranges for every job that I have, but it needs to be one or the other. It needs to be very specific, classified in the job. So for example, like the camp counselor position, I have 16-year-olds going $12 an hour because their responsibility level is not, they're never by themselves with the kids. They're not of an adult age. They don't have to pass a background check. They're basically there as mentors for the kids versus a lead counselor or coordinator. They would be taking responsibility for any kind of accidents, injuries. They do the background check. They can also be with the kids on a one-on-one or a two-on-one basis. So they'll obviously get paid more because their responsibility level is higher. And that just kind of goes in line with the rest of the recreation jobs that we have here. It depends on their responsibility level. So if all the lifeguards share the exact same job responsibilities, they're going to be placed at 1450. Or if I can get it up to 16, that's the hourly rate that we can, according to the state of Idaho, what the benchmarking has been, city of Sandpoint.
Okay.
And then basketball, the youth basketball, it is not canceled. It is just being postponed. Using to give up on youth basketball. And so what I have done is I've reached out to Skyhawks. City of Sandpoint has used them in the past, and the city of Spokane uses them all the time to cover their youth sports because the city of Spokane is so big and they are spread out all over the place. They cannot to hire their own coaches, and they do not have a very deep volunteer pool over there. So Skyhawks acts as a medium between the two, where they provide the staff, we provide the space, we do a revenue share, and we cover the cost of whatever space that they're doing, and we partner up with marketing. I was supposed to have a meeting with them on Tuesday. The girl that was supposed to meet with me got sick, so she is coming back next Tuesday at 2 o'clock for us to talk about it. Our proposal is 3 different age groups for basketball, and it's basically elementary and up. And then we're going to do a tiny tots basketball. We would like to do a tiny tots soccer for the toddlers to be able to play with their parents and kind of gain those important motor skills. And then they also offer after school sports programs, including tennis and pickleball, that they propose to do on Fridays at the New Brunswick Center as well. We're going to bring this down a little bit better, and I'm going to get a better understanding of what this is going to look like next week. Skyhawks. I have had a couple of parents reach out that said they're interested in volunteering, but they don't want to do it by themselves. I get it. Safety in numbers, not to mention their schedules. They cannot commit to 1 or 2, but they can't commit to 6 weeks of doing sports night. This has been a universal problem in recreation right across the board. Everybody works. Kids' schedules are cramped and busy. And I know most of the parents are probably my age, maybe younger. I know their schedules cannot be that's what they used to be. So we're exploring a bunch of different options to keep our kids. I know what that can do. I know how many people are interested in doing it. So just
Have you posted anything about it being postponed and that it's not canceled?
so what I did is I sent out like everybody that is ever registered for any of our kids' sports that fall in line with that age group. I sent out an email explaining that we are not canceling.
Good.
We are postponing. Email me if you have any questions. If you know anybody that's interested in coaching, please contact me. So I've had a couple of parents reach out, but they're on a limited basis. They want to be partnered with somebody to be able to do it. They don't care what age group. as long as we can get basketball. I do not have the exact numbers for the James E. Russell Sports Center, but Jason does. Oh,
Big picture, we have spent, okay, expenditures. $19,337. That's on everything, including payroll, utilities. We did have a $4,000 electric bill for the first month, which I think is gonna be way higher than in the future because there was still construction going on and they were like running fans overnight to dry the paint and
we
stuff.
also had our big garage doors on either side open for all hours of the day, for the construction workers to be able to come in and go out. So it wasn't, the heat and the lights and things were never turned off during that time. Everything was still full blown going with those huge garage doors. So, yeah, we were,
So
that was a big bill.
we think the real, also the holidays are kind of a weird time because you've got people not in town, people in town, different schedules and so on. So we're kind of looking at month 2, which started, this week basically, as being our first like real month of normal operations. However, in that first month, we have, the facility has made $24,787. And that sounds like a lot, but a lot of those came from annual memberships that people bought right up front. So that's also not going to be a normal level of monthly revenue. But I expect that to fall below $20,000 going forward. We employ 6 part-time staff currently at the sports center. They're working an average of 12.75 hours per week. We're interviewing 1 or 2 more in the next week with the hopes of being able to open 7 days a week. Right now, we're closed on Sundays just because of staffing needs. A lot of these part-timers, they can only work 1 day a week. They can only work after 3 p.m. We got a couple high school kids working there now, a few retirees. It's been obviously like you can create a staffing schedule in a spreadsheet and say, oh, you need someone for 6 hours a day here and 6 hours there. But in reality, people are just not willing or able to work exactly what you think they are. So Daniel, our facility supervisors, currently and Katie are going to arrange some more interviews, try to get like 2 more staff people, I think, so that we can be open 7 days a week. Anecdotally, Daniel has a whole spreadsheet showing daily use and pickleball. Can't put up on the screen for you, but I can tell you anecdotally, I played 6 times myself. I got a membership and I'm a tennis player. I actually took a pickleball lesson too. And unfortunately, the group pickleball play times don't really work with my schedule. And I can't convince any of my other friends to play pickleball like me. So it's every time I've been there, there have been other people playing. For example, I played at lunch on Monday this week. There were 3 tennis courts being used and 4 pickleball courts. So it was packed. There was a doubles, a coach, and Berkeley Cox was there playing with John, her coach, while she's home for the holidays. Myself and my friend Chris, and then 4 pickleball courts being used next to us. So I was like, this is crazy. There's lunch break, and there's 4, 16, 20, 24 people playing in there at the same time, tennis and pickleball. So it's not like that all the time, but the busiest times are the pickleball group play times, which average between 30 and 40 people. 8 courts is typically what they're using. And then it's being used by high school practice on Saturday afternoons right now. They're going to start 5 days a week on February 24th. And you had your holiday camps there?
I did,
Yeah,
yeah, we
for
did
the
have
kids.
camp there. They got to go out. They gave them a great space to be able to run and play. They used the playground as well.
Playground's
Kids
open.
got to bring their bikes and scooters, so if the weather was decent, they were scooting around out there, and yeah, it was a really nice environment. It'll be really great during the summertime too.
Little League Baseball approached us and asked about having spring tryouts in there in March. They ended up getting the fairgrounds space because the fairgrounds allows them to do live batting practice inside. I guess they don't care about their lights as much as we do. We did tell them they'd be able to use the sports center as long as they had indoor balls and did not do live batting practice. So they were very excited for that opportunity, but when they got the fairgrounds, I think they chose
They give
that
them a little
because
bit more
the
flexibility
fairgrounds, that's the
to do their
pitfalls.
tryout rather than having to limit their tryout, so.
And Sandpoint Lacrosse has reached out about using it for training starting February 1st, and Daniel's gonna be talking to them about. So I think Daniel's gonna invite the head lacrosse coach in with some kids to kind of test it out to see if the facility works for their needs. We have some concerns about balls getting flung and damaging lights and things, but we think it's gonna work. So lacrosse should be starting to practice in there next month. The backstop curtains are going in on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. That's like the final interior piece. And then once those are in, we can open it for walking 10 hours a day for anybody from the public to come in and go for walks around the perimeter.
And that's at no charge, right?
Yeah, you don't have to be a member, you just come. I envision that lobby area kind of being, cute little seniors come in to go for a walk. They sit down on the couches.
Have coffee.
Daniel offers them some tea.
I will say this too, my experience in there, because I do go and I visit Daniel and I check out how things are going, and the times that I've been there, I don't know if like we have the karma for it or what, but the planets have aligned in some of the misschedulings that we've done, and it's definitely been a learning experience. But like last Friday, we had community court time, and that community court time got incredibly busy around 1:30 because the high school was out. So we had high schoolers coming in with their memberships, their free memberships, wanting to come in and play, and tennis came in, and we had lessons, and we had pickleball people. So it was, the lobby was packed and all the courts were being used by both of us. So this has definitely been a learning experience for Daniel and I both, and we appreciate people's patience on this, but it does give us a lot of hope that if at least during that community court time that allows people to come in for free, if you're in the city Sandpoint limits, it's $5 to come in and just play if you're outside of the city limits. But people get a chance to actually meet other people, see if this is a community that they want to be a part of, see if this is a sporting community that they want to be a part of. And I think that's, if we keep those types of things going and keep those in mind, that is going to increase people wanting to come in, especially if we keep it community based. So I was really hopeful, even though it was a challenge, it was super hopeful seeing all of these people come through the front door during that.
Yeah, I was gonna mention, I hope you guys keep the free community court time because and 5 times or during the free session, it was packed.
Really?
I
I gotta get over there and one of those.
Yeah, it's over. Dave and I are going Friday.
Nice.
We actually increased Friday's time from 1.5 hours to 2 hours,
Okay.
just because it was that there were so many people that wanted court space and that they were kind of waiting for it. That as soon as tennis people left, pickleball took over one of them. So just to get that extra half hour and make it into a 2-hour time block, especially on Fridays, because the school is out early, we decided, what's the harm in giving this a shot? It's terrible, we don't do it again, but if it's successful, we've now found a niche for Fridays.
It's just a great way to get people in there that have never played or get introduced a bunch of people to the sport. They've never tried it. So it's get more memberships, get people really interested. Now people are like,
Especially
I'm
if
gonna
they're
come every week.
I'll say that full recreation team, Daniel and Katie and myself, we truly believe this is a sports center, not just a tennis and pickleball club. So we are actively exploring opportunities for, programming other sports in there besides just tennis and pickleball. So you guys will be involved in those conversations probably in the spring. If changes that might be needed to the facility, but it's definitely something, and we're open to any that are interested in renting court space. We have a nonprofit rental rate. Any nonprofit can rent a court for almost any purpose. We've got a fly fishing program going on in there in April. The Charter Limited is going to be doing 4 Wednesdays of fly fishing casting lessons
Oh, that's a
with
great
classroom
idea.
lesson in the community room.
Oh,
So they're renting, I think, 3 courts for like an hour or 2 a night for a month to do their
What is this?
spring. It'll be announced soon. Katie's working with the Charter Limited board.
We also in February, our instructors over the summertime, she was trying to get a booty yoga, which is a dance movement music, not the peaceful Zen, which would not work very well in a pickleball tennis, but an actual yoga movement class. She wants to run one just to kind of see if the community takes to it. So we're opening up the community room for her to offer free classes to people just to come in and try out this type of yoga, and we'll see how that works. But even during the summertime, it'd be nice to open up the garage door and have all that go to spill out to our lovely patio area.
I might be asking the commission for a recommendation on ordering for our next fiscal year, some of these outdoor ping pong tables, like the ones you see in city parks around
Yes.
around the world. They're like made of concrete, and they just keep ping pong stuff at the front desk and put them out under the covered area so anybody can come just check out ping pong paddles and go play. And we have had members of the community say, can we do like a weekly ping pong club in the community room? Which
There's nothing we can't try.
Yeah.
So, okay, so outdoor shooting range. Their sound abatement is in really sad shape right now. But we also found that those sound abatement panels cost about $5,000 to $6,000 each. Yes, it looks like space material. But it's nothing we can afford right now. There are grants that are out there that I have been shown that I'm looking into. But for right now, what we are trying is few other shooting ranges have used just basic home insulation. And they pack the home insulation up along the sides and then they secure it with chicken wire. This is probably the least of the expense and it may be helping with the sound abatement. But if anybody has gone up to our outdoor shooting range, the padding is falling apart and it's in really bad shape. So we are doing our best with the budget that we have to give our outdoor shooting range a little bit of a facelift. Bill Moody, our lead range master, he is working with Austin to fix up what they need to fix up. We're looking at spending about $2,000 of their budget just to get that place. You know what? I'm not exactly sure of the timeline. I know Austin right now is working on a few things with the trail, like Connery Bay Trail. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They're clearing all of that and then he's gonna should be ready to go by the time. I don't know, the hand over sending it to Jason because I have no clue what those points are.
Okay. Chris?
We got 7 minutes left.
Yeah.
We're getting ready to jump into parking. Everybody already wanted to talk about parking, so I know there's energy on that. What is our, just a question for you, what is our time frame to like review this and like get back to the mayor or the city council?
I'd say, I don't think I'll bring this to city council to probably the second meeting in February.
Okay,
So we've got like 5 weeks.
so we have one more week meeting.
Yeah, there's another item I want to bring to this meeting next month, so a month from now. And that is actually something that's being introduced to council tonight. Has anybody looked at tonight's council agenda? A park property purchase?
Yes.
Yeah. That's something I'd like a recommendation from this commission on to bring to council at the second meeting in February as well. So look at tonight's council agenda. There's a full presentation, actually not a full presentation, it's a staff report and a map of the property that we have the opportunity to buy to add to our parks portfolio. So that'll be on the agenda tonight. And then, but we're basically it's asking council's permission of the mayor and I are asking council's permission to make an offer to Union Pacific to buy their right of way north of Larch Street to continue the Dover to Sandpoint trail all the way over to Boyer and actually connect and build like a linear park rail trail pathway behind the low income housing there at Middletown. Super one, it connects you health.
That's fantastic.
So that's something that's going to council tonight, but not for final purchase. It's just to introduce it
Right.
publicly, and then that'll come back to them in 5 weeks at the second meeting in February. So I'd like to discuss that with you guys in February to get your input on that. And then maybe a final draft of the parking policy. So I'm open to getting feedback from any and all of you via email. If you want to come and talk about it, you guys are the sounding board for the Parks Department. And the parking policy is not a park specific thing, but given that about 60% of our off-street parking in Sandpoint is in City Beach Park, it makes sense to run it through the Parks Commission because the park and park users are going to be.
So I'm sorry,
Let me ask you-
we do or don't convene again before,
You will before this goes to council.
okay,
So a recommendation from you, I'd probably ask for at the February meeting.
Got
This is just to introduce it to you.
got it.
Please
Okay.
take time, read it. There's gonna be stories in the paper about it.
Oh, yeah.
It's gonna go to planning and zoning on Tuesday next week to get their input. We'll probably take it to the Ped Bike Committee
It's gonna be all
later
over
this month or next
Facebook.
month. It's already all over Facebook.
Yeah,
But the facts are what's important. And just to highlight a couple facts for you to take away before we leave today. The fact is we have 505 off-street parking spots at Sandpoint. The fact is that we have $0 of funding sources to pay for maintenance and repair of those parking spots. So every 40 years, someone gets stuck holding a bag of garbage that they have to figure out what to do with. And that's me and Jeremy. Jeremy came in and said that city lot by Joel's is an embarrassment. It is. It's. You might have seen Facebook posts about low voltage wires poking out of the parking lot. Why does the city let this happen? Well, because we have no money to maintain.
Yeah.
Because for 8 years, we haven't charged for parking there and we have $0 coming in to maintain that. For 100 years, we did charge for parking there. I don't know why it hasn't happened. So the proposal is to bring paid parking back to Sandpoint so that we can continue or begin maintaining and eventually replacing our parking facilities. And here's a good example of how I think this is not going to be as bad for residents or non-residents as people say. Ponderay Bay Trail. How many of you use that parking lot once in a while? I do. How many of you park there for more than 2 hours at a time? It's a long walk. You're walking really slow if you're there for 2 hours. You will never have to pay to park at the Ponderay Bay Trail parking lot under this proposal. Okay, if you buy a $10 parking pass or $20 if you live in Sagal, you can go park for 2 hours at Ponderay Bay Trail, get your walk done, go. You haven't spent a dime. But all these tourists with out-of-state plates that are taking up those parking spaces are gonna pay $2 an hour for being out there. That parking lot, based on that model of use, you know, that parking lot alone should bring in about $7,000 of revenue. So I've broken it down by parking lot, how much revenue we expect to earn. City Beach, under this model, should make about $180,000 a year in parking revenues. 80% of that coming from non-area residents. It's because fortunately, the city under Jennifer Stapleton did a very in-depth parking study, which I attached to your agenda today, which I encourage you to read. It's fascinating. Looking at occupancy rates at our street parking and our off-street parking all over town during different times of year, what is peak, what is off peak, throughout the day, morning, afternoon, evening. We know right now that between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., the average occupancy rate at City Beach in the middle of August is 100%. There is zero parking available. So I don't think City Beach is serving the people of Sandpoint very well. It's free to park there, especially when it's free to park there for people who aren't from Sandpoint or the area. So the objective here is to attach a price to something that's highly valued, but nobody's paying for. And we want occupancy to fall. The optimal occupancy rate for city parking facilities is 85%. Here's why I say that's optimal. You don't want your parking lots to be empty. That means you've got your overparked. You're wasting valuable commercial and urban real estate with parking facilities that aren't being used. You don't want them to be full because now people are spending all day driving around, emitting carbon in the atmosphere and clogging up the streets with traffic. But you want, on average, per block, 1 empty parking spot at any given time. That means that the person, when you drive into town, will only have to drive 1 block to find a parking space. You driving into City Beach will find that when you go through that gate and drive around, there's approximately, 20 or 30 empty parking spaces on any given day and 180 occupied parking spaces. That's what we want. We want it nearly full, but not full. Right now, it's entirely full during peak summer months. And it's mostly non-residents who are using that parking. So attaching the price to that will reduce demand. Families that can ride their bikes are more likely to ride their bikes. And that's what we want. That's literally how incentives work. We get the results we want, and we generate $300,000 to $350,000 a year to maintain these facilities and improve the amenities that they serve.
Would you add bike lockup?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you have money to do it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
After 1 year, we could put 15 grand into bike parking facilities at City Beach. Yes, and landscaping and better lights. I mean,
We
I'm
still
asking
don't
the
really
state.
have
to
a
fund
great
these
way to
things.
get there on a bike either.
Well, okay, herein lies downtown revitalization.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, those things need to go in hand. If we're gonna incentivize people
Yeah.
to wanna ride, then we have to.
I'd like to pause here. I'm sorry to
Sure.
cut you off. And you, Jason, sorry to cut you guys off. We do need to end here. I apologize. It's 4 o'clock. I want to take 1 quick minute just to open it up to you guys, to see if you guys would be open to starting this meeting at 2:30 instead of 3 to give us more time to talk. Jason, you do a wonderful job of bringing us a ton of data. We just don't get to talk about it. We walk away frustrated. Like,
It's really cool.
it's very
Hey,
quick.
I'm free if anyone wants to stick around and talk after this.
Yeah. We
Oh,
just
so
can't-
extending the meeting by another 30 minutes, it's still ending at 4, but.
Still
starting
ending at 4, starting at 2:30.
I'm fine with that. But there might.
I'd be late every time.
It's okay.
But only.
Totally okay with that, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I can. Every meeting or just,
I think so.
okay.
I think it helps.
Yeah, I could probably,
Yeah, we do. We need to vote on that. We have general agreement.
Sure.
is it possible that if I started my meeting on Zoom and then I
Yeah.
got here at 3?
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Anybody want to make a motion? Like,
Yeah, I think as long as it doesn't just expand kind of what's been going on and
Sure.
you do actually have time to speak,
Yep.
and have questions answered, all that stuff.
Is that a motion?
Make a motion.
We have a motion.
Start at 2:30.
I'll second.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Being adjourned. Get it on time. You're messing me out. Tammy. Sorry.
Now,